We back with another reflection on the daily Vedantic. And in the last episode, we referenced the Gita, one of the canonical texts of this ancient philosophy. 2,500-year-old poem, 700 verses. Sometimes it's 701, depending on the version, but 700 verses, a 30-minute read between this warrior prince and his charioteer, who ends up being a symbolic embodiment of God right before this epic, massive battle in this 13-year civil war. We mentioned the Gita and in this 5,000-plus-year-old philosophy, this poem that is about 2,500 years old. It is drenched in knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb after knowledge bomb. It requires commentary and a whole lot of reflection because each verse is integrated with the others, but also can stand alone and knock you out for a couple weeks just reflecting on the wisdom within that and the counter example it gives to how so many of us live our lives. The example that I want to talk about today is our approach to sacrifice. Usually we hear, sacrifice now for a better later. And we think about sacrifice in terms of getting a better reward. A lot of times it's sacrificing in the gym or sacrificing nights and weekends early in your career or late in your career for some benefit. We think about it traditionally or religiously in terms of sacrifice so that over time you'll get some mansion in this place called heaven. You'll get to be in this blissful place if you sacrifice. According to Vedanta, this philosophy, to the Gita, that's not sacrifice. That's business. You pay something to get something in return. Maybe it's 5 minutes later, maybe it's 50 years later, but that is not sacrifice in this philosophical tradition. In the 17th chapter of the Gita, verse 11, talks about this most poignantly. To be content with sacrifice alone, not to seek a reward for our sacrifice. Not only does seeking a reward taint our ability to continually sacrifice, surrender, going to the gym where you're like, I'm doing this so that I'll look better, I'll feel better. In the beginning, you can give that a try. But that's not going to generate the energy within you like, I'm going to the gym because I want to take care of this body. That takes care of me. I want to take care of this body so that I can serve my family, so I can lift up my little kids, so that I can be strong in my community, be helpful, to have better energy in my job or for my household. That sacrifice so that you can give more. Not sacrifice so you can get more in return. Not sacrifice, I'm going to put in 50 years of living right so that I'll get an eternity of bliss. It's a easy price to pay for eternity in heaven. That's not sacrifice. That is like a logical but selfish exchange. That is business in the temple. I'm going to tithe. I'm going to give this amount, and I'm going to get something in return. I'm going to get the kudos. I'm going to get the cosmic pat on the back. Get led into the greatest eternal, blissful resort scene of all time, of heaven. That's not only not sacrifice, that is hedonism and just delayed gratified form. Sacrifice in this tradition is to be content with the sacrifice itself and no thought of the reward. The specific quote is, the sacrifice offered by those desiring no fruit, as enjoined by ordinance, with the mind well resolved that they should merely sacrifice. That is sattvika, which just means, sattvik means wise or control of the mind. Resolve that they should merely sacrifice. That is what we're wired to do, is to give. The universe is wired for us to give, like the sun. Its existence is to give vitality to everything around it. that feeds off of it, not to give and keep track of the debts owed back its way. It's just to give. And our existence, like the sun, is to give. What's beautiful is when we give. Try to contain the heat of the sun. I don't know how you'd physically do that. Try to contain the heat of the sun in on itself. All those millions of nuclear explosions going in on themselves. And you'd damn near tear a hole in the universe. It would not operate as designed. For it all to radiantly express outward. Light, warmth, blasting out, giving us the vitality that allows for our planet and all living beings on it to exist. That is the example for us, to give. Not to contain it, not to keep track of what others owe to us, not to give, knowing that, oh, I'm like the sun. I'm going to receive something in return. The sun doesn't receive anything in return. To give without any thoughts of any reward. That is wise. That is control of the mind. That is peace. That is energy generation. To give with thoughts of rewards. That is not sacrifice. That is business. No business in the temple, says the Gita and Christ. No thoughts of rewards when sacrificing. Like I said, each verse is so drenched in wisdom that you could spend weeks, months, years reflecting on a single verse to try to understand what is it really saying. And this is definitely one of those verses where it is so counter to everything we're told in the world around us about sacrifice. Very few among us do sacrifice for that delayed gratification. But when we do, it's nearly 100%. It's for some return that they will get on the other side. And this philosophy is saying even that isn't good enough. That sacrifice, it's not for their own selfish. It's not for selfishly receiving a reward on the other side. It's to be content with sacrifice itself. And when we try that approach out, like I said, generates energy, peace within us, unlike all other attempts at sacrifice that have strings attached, that have some expectations, set of expectations attached. What if you just gave with no expectation, no strings? It's paradoxical. Because it's basically saying, this is how you get the most, by giving without any thought of what you're going to get. It's paradoxical. It is topsy-turvy. It's certainly, like I said, counter to what we hear from the world around us. But it's saying, if you really want to maximize your returns, just give freely without thinking about returns. Similar to an episode we did recently on the fruits of our labor are not for us, and yet have that approach to our work, and you produce more fruit than anybody around you. I see it with startups, with Magic Mind. I think I noted a few episodes ago that we've sold 17 million bottles. That was reported this week. It's at, 50-something million in revenue. And I've never thought about revenue figures in terms of this is what we're doing it for. It's just, how do we improve the product? How do we improve the product? How do we improve the product? And when I do think about revenue figures, oh my God, does it just slow my energy down into a sludge? When I do think about fruits or rewards, and certainly in my 20s, it was just failure after failure after failure of thinking. I mentioned it recently. They were all exercises in ego engineering, financial engineering, and then destroyed mentally when things weren't working as planned on the ego front or the financial front. Magic Mind was reluctant. I didn't even really want to start the company. Apt, another company I mentioned recently, I didn't even really want to start that. I really didn't want to start that. Magic Mind was at least going to be kind of a smaller project at the start. And yet it just keeps growing and growing. In every version of the product, we end up spending more on the ingredients, making it better and better. And I'm not saying I'm at the level where I'm sacrificing, completely content with sacrifice itself without any thoughts of that personal, selfish upside. But I can tell you, as that gets whittled down, that becomes less of a motivator. It's so wild how that becomes such a massive byproduct. But as that whittles down, as the focus on the rewards whittles down, it is so fascinating, wild, paradoxical, but completely aligned with this philosophy, how that becomes a byproduct of proportions that I never even imagined when I started the company. This verse is so powerful because it basically says, you want to maximize rewards? Don't think about them. Just think about service to your community, to yourself, to your household. Don't think about the rewards. Sacrifice. Trusting. Knowing that those will be taken care of on the other side. There's this study that showed this large-scale study that showed when people made a significant donation during a certain year of their life, when they made a significant donation compared to a group that had significant windfalls as well, financial windfalls as well, but didn't make a significant donation. What was shown in the study was that the people that gave a donation the next year on average made 47% more. And the study is really fascinating. It's worth actually asking ChatGPT about it to understand how well they controlled this study to show that for some reason, when people were generous, it led to a 47% increase in their income the next year when they made a massive donation. The people that had similar bumps in salary that didn't make a donation did not have a 47%, they had about a 7% increase. Meaning their career progressed, but it didn't have a step change like the generous group did. Economists tried to figure out why. They were trying to figure out why, and they were just kind of getting lost and trying to understand why. They finally chatted with psychologists. The psychologists got involved and figured out that, it's because after you give, you feel more powerful. You feel you have more to offer to yourselves, to your coworkers, to your community. And that feeling goes with you into that next year, and you are more powerful. You do have more to give, more to offer, and you get compensated accordingly. This philosophy is it's big on sacrifice. It's big on giving. Life is to give. The fruits of our actions are not ours. Sacrifice and contentment with sacrifice alone is control of the mind, is peace. That is wisdom in action. Sattvic, a sattvic approach to life. So different in what we hear in the culture around us. But whether it's a study on income or whether it's your experience right now. I'm sure those participants in the study, because they didn't have the data, they didn't know that it would help them earn more. They weren't giving thinking, this is going to help me earn more. They were just giving. But what's so powerful beyond even scientific data is experience. 15 minutes from now, you could write a text of appreciation to someone in your life that meant a lot to you. No thoughts on getting anything back, just sacrificing a few brain cells, a few minutes, probably seconds, to construct that text and genuinely mean whatever you're saying to them in appreciation without any thought of anything in return, which is the important factor here. Sacrificing that thoughtfulness and time just for them. Keep it within those conditions and then see what happens. See if this philosophical concept maps to personal experience. That is today's reflection in the Daily Vedantic. We'll see you next time.